Today, Ray and I are going to show you how to cook bistek, which is also known as Filipino Beef Steak. Bistek consists of thin cuts of beef infused with a soy sauce and calamansi juice marinade and topped off with sautéed onions. To start off, you're going to need 2 pounds of beef. We typically use a round or sirloin cut of beef, but you could also use a chuck or tenderloin cut. Cut thin slices of meat against the grain that are between 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick, and then place them into a bowl. After cutting your meat, you have the option of pounding each slice with a meat tenderizer if your meat is a little tough. Otherwise, you can skip straight to marinating your beef slices.
In a new mixing bowl, combine 1/4 of a cup of soy sauce, 1/4 of a cup of calamansi juice, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then stir everything together. If you don't have access to calamansi juice, you could also just substitute it with lemon juice. Once your marinade is fully incorporated, pour it in with your slices of beef. And mix everything together, making sure that every slice gets soaked. Next, cover your bowl with saran wrap and allow your meat to marinate for an hour or so in the fridge. About halfway through, you have the option of mixing the meat a little bit more to make sure it all gets equally marinated. Once the meat is done marinating, you're ready to start cooking. This first part is totally optional, but we highly recommend it. First, pour in about 2 tablespoons of oil into a deep pan over medium heat. And then throw in 1/3 of a large onion cut into rings and saute them until they're translucent and have a little give to them. The purpose of sauteing this initial batch of onions is to use them as garnish for later and to add another layer of texture to the dish, whereas the other onions will almost dissolve into the dish because they'll be cooking with the meat for a longer period of time. Set your onions aside when they're done.
Afterwards, we can start cooking our meat. We'll be cooking our meat in 2 phases. First, arrange the meat in a single layer over medium heat and cook it for about 2 minutes or so. And then flip the meat and cook the other side for another couple minutes. When the meat is done, transfer the meat into a strainer and allow the juices to strain into a bowl. Repeat these steps for the rest of your meat. The purpose of this first part is just to cook the meat and allow all the juices to drain out. Before going on to the second part, save the marinade left over in the pan and pour it back into the bowl you used to marinate your meat. Since the meat is already cooked, we simply just want to sear the sides a little, just enough to add a little color. If necessary, you can add just another tablespoon or so of oil into the pan, and then set your heat to medium-high. Place your meat in a single layer and cook each side about a minute or so, or until they develop a nice brown color. Set them aside when you're done and sear the rest of the meat. Searing the meat is totally optional, but we highly recommend it because it helps add more depth of flavor and color to the bistek.
After setting your meat aside, pour in 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil into the pan over medium heat, and drop in the rest of the onions. Saute them until they're translucent. Next, throw in 5 cloves of minced garlic, and continue to saute everything until the garlic becomes fragrant. Then place all your meat back in, and then pour in the leftover marinade from earlier, as well as any marinade that's strained from the meat. Afterwards, pour in 3/4 of a cup of water. Partially cover your pan so that the sauce can slightly thicken. Bring it to a soft boil. Once at a soft boil, bring it back down to low or medium-low and simmer it for another 30 to 40 minutes. When it's done, stir the meat to liven it up a bit. Afterwards, garnish it with the sautéed onions. Cover and heat for another minute or so, just enough to reheat the sautéed onions. And then, damn, son, you're eating good tonight! As always, just pair it with a scoop of white rice, a little bit of onions, and sauce on the rice, and you're good to go. This bistek is talagang tasty.